We're going to wrap up today with a fun listener question that shows the importance of using very precise language in science. And we answered this question with some help from Ralph Crew. He's the creator and co-host of Science, News, and Cues, also known as Snack, a Carnegie Science Center podcast. Here's what happens when you put 3 science communicators in a room to try to talk through a seemingly simple question from one of our listeners, Lazar in Serbia.
This one's tricky, but I like the challenge. Which one has a greater entropy, a raw egg, or a boiled egg? Have you guys thought about this question at all?
I have, and my first thought was like, oh, well, clearly a boiled egg. And then I was like, I don't know.
I think it's going to depend on how you're measuring entropy. On a very micro scale, within the white of an egg, it is a liquid, and then when it is boiled, it becomes a solid. And in general, the entropy in a solid can be considered to be lower than in a liquid, because the liquid can be all disordered in a million different states. However, I think it also depends on how what scale you imagine the egg in, right? To go from a raw egg to a boiled egg, there are many, many different routes that could take, But to go from a boiled egg back to a raw egg is highly improbable. So I think it is entropic in general to go from raw to boiled. Therefore, overall, on a grand scale, the entropy is higher for a boiled egg. However, on a micro scale, perhaps not. And then that's not even considering whether or not something has biological potential, which I would say a biological organism is perhaps the most ordered system, so would have, in that case, very low entropy. So, but that's a tricky question, and I looked it up and saw a couple of different people describing it different ways. Everyone's had a boiled egg before, and yet you can open up these huge questions about entropy and the nature of the universe, which I always think is really fun.
Yeah, I think I always hear about it as what has higher entropy, a raw egg or a fried egg. And in that case, you have cracked open the egg and the egg is out. And that makes it a lot more straightforward to me. But if you keep it in the shell, somehow that just throws everything for a loop because it's like in the same system. It's like, I don't know.
Well, and it also, depending on what's like how granular you want to get, if you go down to the atomic level, then the amount of heat in the system starts to play a really big role. And it's like, is the boiled egg cooled off or not? Because if the boiled egg has a big temperature gradient between it and its surroundings, then that's a low entropy state. But if it is cooled, then that entropy has gone up. And so that I think actually overall, depending on like how people actually measure physical entropy in chemical reactions, and in that case, it may just come down to the temperature of it. And is this raw egg freshly laid at the temperature of a chicken, or is it refrigerator temperature? That actually probably plays a pretty big role in what you would call its entropy. But overall, if you just look at the egg as a single unit instead of as trillions of atoms, then I think you can look at entropy through a broader lens, and then I think it's pretty clear. I'm not an egg expert, but I think that it's pretty clear that a boiled egg would have higher entropy than a raw one.
You're not an egg-spert?
I can't believe I let that one go. What a yoke.